through today. There'll be opportunities for a conversation, etc. But Tony will give us an overview of all of that as he leads off. So welcome, Tony. Thank you for your enormous work and effort that you've been into preparing for today, and for Lizzie and Julz for your effort as well and work. So hand it over to Tony.
Thanks very much, Frank. Hello, everybody. Good morning to you all. It's a nice, bright, sunny day here in Derry, and I hope it's the same wherever you are. You're all very, very welcome here this morning on this webinar, first webinar we have done on engaging JP2 award participants during COVID restrictions. And I hope we have lots of useful advice that we can offer to yourselves. And I must say thank you very much for all the very, very many helpful tips that has been sent in and examples of great things that are going on right across the country. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tony Brennan, and I am National Coordinator of the Pope John Paul II Award in Ireland and Britain. The award is running in 24 dioceses in Ireland and 3 in Britain, Hexham and Newcastle, Birmingham, and just recently launched the Diocese of Portsmouth. And I believe we have some representatives here from Portsmouth here this morning, and you're all very, very welcome. The Pope John Paul Award is a faith achievement award, and its focus is very much on making young people visible in their church and in their parishes. And making them visible in their parishes is key. It's ultimately, that's what the driver is. And the award is a mechanism for parishes to use for young people to be engaged in that parish. And schools play a very important role in that, where that is the connector. So up and all through the years, the award has run very, very well in many, many dioceses across the country, and schools have been the connector. And the connector and the challenge then is for the parishes to make up that connection. So now during COVID, we have additional challenges. We are very much restricted in what we can do in each of our parishes, and in actual fact, in what we can do in our schools. But as things are beginning to settle down and people are beginning to understand what can be done, we've gone through the barrier of waiting to see what is going to happen, and we are working very much on what is here and now, and working in the short term to help our young people, and they in turn help our parishes. When COVID came along first in March, all of us were thrown sideways, and we had to decide what we were going to do next. And thankfully, our Bishop Donald here, we weren't limited, we were just encouraged and employed. Our employment status continued, and we had to step up and continue engaging with our young people and our parishes on this unknown path. So that's going to lead me on now to my introduction to Lizzie Rea and Julz. And Lizzie, would you like to introduce yourself to us this morning?
Good morning, everyone. My name is, as Tony said, is Lizzie Rea. I am the Youth Coordinator of Derry Diocese. Currently, I'm currently in Donegal just now, but I've been working from Donegal the whole time, but obviously doing both Derry and Donegal, which we spoke about earlier, being a bit of a problem with the 2 different conflicting restrictions. And my previous work was in St Eugene's Cathedral. I was a parish coordinator, and before that I was in university in Maynooth studying theology. So yeah, just happy to be here this morning.
And Julz, could you introduce yourself this morning, please?
Morning, everyone. I'm Julz. I work in Derry as well. I work as a faith formation coordinator in 2 of the parishes in the city. Previous to that, I was working in England, running a retreat centre and the Catholic Youth Service in Southwark in the Archdiocese. So it's been a real challenge coming over and a change, but loads of fun. A bit like Lizzie, my former life, I was also a student doing theology and bit of Mary's in Twickenham as well, which is a really university. It's lovely to see you all.
Tony, can I come in for a GIF?
You can indeed.
I hope all of you recognise the Derry accent coming through loud and clear there.
You get me to it.
When I first moved here, I told people I was from Tyrone because I thought that would go down better. And then I went into a shop in Maharan, Derry, County Derry, and I told them I was from Tyrone, and it turns out that's worse than being English. So I've just gone back to saying I'm from Yorkshire. It comes out better.
And Lizzie, you've a fine Yorkshire accent as well, not?
So actually, I'm going to apologise in case anyone can't understand my broad Glaswegian accent throughout this. No, Donegal now.
And just to add to the mix, I'm from Sligo myself, so we have a good selection of regional accents here today. I'm just going to share a slide with you here today. I'm just going to run through what we're going to briefly cover today. I am just calling up our slide here now. And just to run through some of the quick functions here on Zoom, and one that we're going to use a lot today, and that is the chat function. And this little screenshot you see here as well, we'll put this in the resources that you can share. We'll share with you as well, because these may be handy for yourselves when you're doing any Zoom calls. So just give you an idea of some of the functions. Over on your bottom left, you'll see the mute and the camera function. And if we run into any sort of breakups in sound or any video delays, feel free to mute yourself or switch off your camera. You'll still be able to hear us and see us. But what that will do is it will broaden out the bandwidth, and so may help the webinar just run a little bit more smoothly on if you have poor Wi-Fi. Also, up in the top right hand corner, you might have the speaker view. That is a handy one to do so that you can hear who the speakers are and see them as well. And down on the bottom right, you'll see the chat function. Now, the chat function is what would be great if you could use that today. And just to test it out, if you just quickly type in there who you are and where you're located, it would be great to know, and your role perhaps. Just fill that in so everybody can see where you are located. There's lots of people joining us here this morning. As we go through the morning, we'll give you lots of opportunities to put any questions you may have into that chat. And we'll keep an eye on the chat, and we'll try and pick out those questions and see if we can answer them as we make our way through the webinar. We're going to start off with a few questions with Lizzie and Julz, and as we make our way through, we'll also give examples of some great activities that are happening throughout Ireland and England during these COVID restrictions. We'll stop for the Angelus at 12, and we'll continue on with the webinar, and we'll have a breakout room about 12 for 15 minutes. And during that breakout room, we'll give you 2 or 3 questions that you can discuss during the breakout. Rejoin us and see then if we can answer any of the things that has come up from there. And we'll just take it from there. So we're going to start off this morning, Lizzie. You're going to get the first question. So going back to March, tell us, in March, we were faced with the challenge of us needing to reach out. And can you tell me, please, what the challenges are? What did you feel like at that time, and where you were going to go, and how come online has become so important?
Hard enough question to start, Tony. So March, like all of you, I'm sure we're all flung into the unknown, and we didn't really know where we were going, what we were doing. So I was lucky enough that we spoke about it, and in that time we were definitely keeping our jobs. So I realised that we had to go and move to the house to work. So that automatically, me, middle of nowhere in Donegal, meant that I had to be online. So I was lucky enough to speak with Julz and Yvonne, who can't be here just now. We met up in our office, socially distanced of course, because we didn't really know what was happening with COVID. And we looked about some of the other dioceses in England and Ireland, and we actually phoned Julz's sister, who worked in the Diocese of Nottingham, and we asked, what are you doing, what's happening, they have a very successful YouTube channel, so we thought they're already kind of online, so let's look and see what they're thinking of, because we're all in the same boat. So they kind of spoke about a daily programme, alive on their YouTube channel, and we didn't have a YouTube channel, and thought, this all came together within an hour. We said, right, okay, we're going to do an online programme. It's going to be on Instagram, because Instagram is where young people are, and we thought, right, that's a generalisation, but that's where we found most of our young people were on Instagram, and we found that out through our schools and retreats, and we found that out through our diocesan events, like we had a sleep out in the February, and all of them used Instagram. So we thought, right, Instagram is where they're going to be. So we thought, right, an online programme. It was very challenging. It was a bit of a fluke, if I'm honest. It was a bit kind of, here we go, are we going to try this? Or will this work? Will that not work? And then with the support of Bishop Donal, we asked Bishop on our lives to make videos. He just was very accepting anything we asked. He was definitely up for, and that was a good support. So we kind of just ran with it. We're still doing it now, but there's a lot of changes. I'm sure I'll kind of talk about that as we go on. Some things worked, some things didn't work. It was a bit of trial and error, but we just made sure that we were continuing on Instagram, and we made a programme. Yeah.
Very good. And Julz, tell us, what were the challenges you faced at that time as well?
I think similar to Lizzie, was suddenly I was working about 16, 17 miles away from where I worked, and wasn't able to be around the community anymore. So it was trying to find where the links are. And I think as difficult as COVID has been, it's also been a bit of a blessing, because it's helped us to establish relationships in a new way. And there's a real visible sign of engagement. You can see what's hitting the mark and what's not. You can see if they're choosing to engage or not. And they were choosing to, which was really special when they did. So you grabbed hold of that stuff. I think for me, the main challenges were finding them and finding where they were. And what I found really useful during lockdown in particular is going to lots of online seminars like this, where people could just share things with us. And one of the most profound things that was shared with me was just with Million Minutes did some online bits, and they did this whole thing around the Emmaus story. Some of you may have done it, and just this idea that we're 7 miles away. And I really felt that. I felt like I was actually 16.5 miles away, but how do we do things we're 7 miles away from Jerusalem, which is often where our young people are anyway. They're not in our churches. It's not a place where they've always felt comfortable. So actually going to where they are, it's been quite an exciting journey to have that, and to see where they want to take us. But it has been very scary as well, because you're never quite sure if they're going to turn up or not. They definitely vote with their feet.
Now, Lizzie, you were seeking out where the young people were at, but you compiled a program so basically you got into selling mode, essentially, isn't that correct?
Yeah. We're lucky enough to have a good connection with schools and parish leaders and volunteers like all of you, and they're crucial to getting a message out there. So we emailed the schools and we emailed the parishes and said, look, this is what we're attempting to do. We've compiled a weekly task, but daily content, because schools were kind of struggling to get up online at the start, so they could definitely have something by this online programme, and they were able to fulfil their tasks with the award, which was something that was a major concern for some people who were nearly finished their award or not half finished their award. What I will say is, although I was astounded by the engagement and I was, as I said, really happy about it, it was halved. You know, the numbers that were doing the award, still half of them were coming, but I thought that was a success because I didn't really see how many were going to be coming. I was just happy that 5 turned up, but they weren't all there. You know, we didn't hit everyone because there is situations where people are not online and some young people aren't fortunate enough to have Wi-Fi. So we are aware of that, but this just seemed to be answering the call of the many rather than the few.
And at that time, what tools were you using to engage online?
We used Instagram, as I say, mainly, and we used Zoom. Zoom was a massive thing, and Instagram Live, as I was trying to be an influencer, as you can probably tell if you've watched an Instagram attempt to go on live. The only reason I was doing live is because nobody else knew how to work it, and nobody else would come live. They're all, no, Lizzie, you can do it. You know how to stop and start. Everybody else is like, no chance. So we did a live on the Monday night, and we also used Zoom. We also used the live feature on Zoom. So we got, there was a few different events that we did, and we got the young people to come live and go on Facebook Live. So there's a feature there as well.
Okay, I'm just going to share a screen here, and it's going to go through the 7 days of the week that you devised here. And I'll just call this up if it will let me, and it should. And can you see this? I hope you can. So Monday, you had Monday Night Live. That was on Instagram, is that right?
Yes, that was on Instagram. So I would start the programme with a Monday Night Live. I would talk to them about their week. Bishop Donald come on. He comes on nearly every live and gives a wee bit of a taster and speaks to the young people, says hello, and we then go on with the task. We sometimes have a guest, we sometimes don't. We just kind of see how we feel, and we talk about the theme for that week, and then we give the task out.
And then Tuesdays and Wednesdays, tell us a bit about them.
Tuesday, TikTok Tuesday, we thought we're not on TikTok, we just asked the young people to make a TikTok video, and they sent that to us on Instagram, and it would be something to do with the theme. And then we would ask if it could be posted onto our social media, and a lot of them would say no chance. So we only had a few of them. We weren't up for that too much. Wellbeing Wednesday, we would try to do something uplifting, a wee bit of a positivity, and quote. Takeover Thursday would either be a charity or a young person. We had a lot of young people take over the day and just give us an insight into their day and what they did. Faith Friday, we just had a prayer, and we put up some different stuff on that day, just maybe us saying the prayer or a reflection video. Scripture Saturday is a series we have with Bishop Donald, and which is great, and he's still doing it now. So every week Bishop Donald chooses a piece of scripture and reflects on it with us, with the young people. And then Sunday Gospel Reflection. This seemed to be one of the hardest, to get the priest to take a video of themselves and put it on Facebook and social media. They would reflect on the gospel, but when they did do it, it was fantastic, and they did, a lot of them did. So anyone who did, thank you very much. Yeah, that was the week.
And for the Sundays, you went around to various parishes and asked the priest to film himself, is that right?
Yeah, we went to different parishes. Obviously, we weren't allowed out, so the problem was we weren't allowed to go and film the priest, which would have been easier for them. Sometimes it would be on their webcam, and somebody would record the webcam, and we'd put that up. Or, we went to different parishes. We actually went outside the diocese as well, and thought just anyone. We had a religious sister as well that came on and done a gospel reflection, and we just had as many as we could. Okay,
and then on Takeover Thursdays, this is interesting. Tell us a little bit what you did there.
Takeover Thursday, so we would let either a charity or a young person sign in to our Instagram. They would give us a brief kind of, I don't know, insight to their life. Like one of the girls we had, who's now a massive part of our diocese and different young stuff. You've probably seen her on our website and our social media. She took over. She showed us our breakfast. She showed us what she did during COVID, because a lot of them were sitting in the house. She went a walk and did different things, and it was basically just a day in the life, I suppose, a Takeover Thursday. That kind of led us into charities taking over for a week. So they would take over the whole week, which we had Mary's Meals did one, and it was a really good week actually. They're going to be taking over shortly on our online programme. The promotion, the stories, obviously they have all that content ready. So rather than us making the content, we said, would you like that as a platform to promote yourself and promote charity, and also young people will find out about that charity and maybe try and volunteer to give other people an option, whilst also being faith-based. And their content and their videos were phenomenal, and the young people really, really enjoyed that week. And we tried to make sure that if anyone wanted to do that, or we do some social justice weeks as well, to try and cover all bases.
Mm-hmm. And when you say takeover, just to explain what takeover means for anyone who's not familiar, there's a lot of trust in takeover, isn't there?
There is, yeah. So obviously, when we have an Instagram account, and I'll probably hit on this a wee bit later, safeguarding wise, it's not just me signed in on Instagram. So Julz, Yvonne, there will be at least 6 of us signed in onto that Instagram page. So you can have dual Instagram accounts. So on my phone, there is at least 4 Instagram accounts, but they're signed in at all times. So say anyone would any young person would send in a message of their task, it doesn't just notify me, it notifies Julz, it notifies Yvonne, so that we're all aware and we're all able to contribute, and we're all safeguarded that anyone can see anything at any given time. So this was the case for Takeover Thursday. I would give the young person the password on our Instagram. Obviously a lot of planning and trust went into this. It wasn't just they can get the password right. It was young people that were putting that we did trust, and we did see that we're making a genuine effort and wanted to take over. Not a lot of them there's a handful that wanted to, a lot of them like, no way again, not doing that, not putting that on my Instagram. So they would go on, they would sign into our Instagram, and they would put posts up either through the story or through just posts or on our grid. I would be aware, and if anything was inappropriate or anything, or I didn't feel that it worked, I could delete it straight away. So I was able to make sure that whatever they were putting up, or even that could be me as well, or say I've made a spelling mistake, Julz, or Lizzie, you've made a mistake in that, you need to go check that, because everybody has access to the Instagram account. So the takeover would mean that they take over the Instagram, they take over the content, they take over the information, they don't answer messages. Nobody answers any of the messages apart from me and Yvonne or Julz.
Mm-hmm. So that's an excellent concept, and it's a scary one to do. But what the outcome of what you achieve, you're given the responsibility over to the young people, and I suppose that goes back to why really online is so important, because our young people are basically reared online. Essentially, wouldn't that be right?
Oh, they know way more. This is the thing. This is Instagram. I was asking them, right, okay, how do you add that? Or, right, the green screen. All the effects that they're able to put on, or the content that they're able to create, it's second nature. When I'm asking them to make a video, or I'm asking them to put that link, or do this, or do that, and any other tasks, it's very, very easy to them, and they're very comfortable. And that's what the blessing that Julz was speaking about earlier. Going online, this is a wee bit selfish from my point of view. I was able, obviously as a diocesan coordinator, I'm not forefront all the time, because parishes, you'll be able to make that connection, you see them every week. I don't have that joy of the diocese, because I'm moving around so much in a very big diocese. We were able to have conversations with young people every single week. They were sending in the task, they wanted to get involved, they were bored sitting at home, they wanted to get in and do lives, especially when it's come up to Holy Week and Easter and Lent. Had that mindset, and they were able to communicate, and their best communication was online, because they felt secure. They understood. They weren't sitting in a parish hall going, I don't want to talk, they better talk first, I can't talk. They were all comfortable doing it over a keyboard, and some of them were able to do it over video as well, which was really good. So it was a great way for them to communicate, because they're used to it.
Yeah. And Julz, you're working a parish, so tell us, was did online just go smoothly? Were you able to engage young people in your parish?
No, I think similar to what Lizzie was saying, and probably what a lot of people have experienced, is that our numbers were decimated, really, and I think we became very aware that young people in particular were having so much thrown at them. They were trying to learn how to use online platforms for school. They were, trying to work in environments that weren't helpful for that anymore. And the idea of doing a John Paul Award in the middle of that in particular was just like, I was the easiest person to ignore. So no, it wasn't smooth in the slightest, but I think the beauty for me of what my job's been over the last 4 or 5 months is that I've had even though I work in isolation in the parish, we've manufactured a team diocesan-wise that work together of people who are willing to provide things and provide content. So even though I only had 2 young people that would be interested in a youth alpha, I was able to say to Aoife down the road, she had 3. And then we were able to speak to Lizzie, who said, well, I'll put it out to the diocese, so it was able to get bigger and bigger. So it was just working with what we've got and not feeling defeated because the numbers were shocking, but going, we have young people that want to engage, so let's focus on that for now.
Yes.
And work on that intentional discipling that Father Mike was talking just to us about a few months ago in one of these webinars.
Yeah, so you got good support. So to explain to those listening, there are a number of parishes here in the diocese that have employed youth workers, and it was those that you're reaching out to in other parishes, isn't that right?
Yeah, alongside parishioners that were willing to get more involved as well. There were a few just lay people who'd been made kind of furloughed that were willing to get more involved. But yeah, we're really lucky to have the paid workers as well.
And it's good that you were able to reach out and get that support. So that's a message we'd put out to any coordinators in dioceses or in Ireland and Britain. Don't feel that you're on your own. Reach out. Either reach out to others in your own diocese, reach out to other dioceses, because this network is here to support you, and you will have your own diocesan network as well. So feel free. That's a good message to do. Feel free. You're on a path that you probably are going to make mistakes on. Mistakes is how you learn. And when you face those challenges and step up, you can hear what is happening, that really good things come out of it. We've just coming up to 12 o'clock. And we're just going to pause.
Tony,
sorry,
we have a couple of questions. Can we maybe return to them after the Angelus, or after the prayer?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
We're just going to come up to 12 o'clock now. Bishop Donald, would you mind doing the Angelus with us? I have a slide I can put up here.
Hear the bells ringing in the background at our cathedral just across the yard from me.
Excellent.
Can you hear some of that? Some of you is a little bit. The angel of the Lord declared unto Mary, she conceived by the Holy Spirit. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Behold the handmaid of the Lord.
According to thy word.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
The Word was made flesh
and dwelt amongst us.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Pray for us, most holy Mother of God,
that we may make worthy of promises of Christ.
Let us pray. Pour forth, we beseech thee, O Lord, thy grace into our hearts, that we, to whom the incarnation of Christ thy Son was made known by the message of an angel, may by his passion and cross, brought to the glory of his resurrection, through the same Christ our Lord.
Amen.
May the divine assistance remain always with us, and may the souls of the faithful departed, through the mercy of God, rest in peace. Amen.
Thank you very much, Bishop Donald. Frank, do you want to?
Yeah, so there are a couple of questions in here. So the first question is directed to Lizzie. Is the online community that Lizzie talked about, is it a parish or school-based level, or is it diocesan-wide?
Diocesan-wide, and it includes school and parish. So I would give it out to school leaders and parish leaders, and some school leaders came and get involved in our Instagram, and so would parish leaders. It was just everybody was involved, but it was diocesan-led, and with the help, obviously, the team that Julz was talking about our employed workers, but it was diocesan.
So when you were communicating that across the diocese, were you going through the John Paul II award leaders, or was it, do you have a sort of a full, was it just you had the database, or for those who registered for the John Paul II award at diocesan level for the year, and you contacted them all directly?
No, I didn't contact them directly. I did it through their leaders, and I did it through their parishes. So it went into bulletins and it went into parish priests' notes as well that we were doing an online programme.
Okay, and just a side question to that, for those activities that were happening online, Lizzie, were the award leaders allowed to join as well, or was it just the participants?
The award leaders were allowed to join. Yep, they were allowed.
Okay.
Some of them would message like on our Instagram live. Some of them would say, for example, there was one, I think it was Balahi Parish, come up and says, "Hi everyone, how you doing? I'm the leader," and they would all see that their leader was on. And same with teachers. Teachers would write "Hi from Thornhill" or "Hi from other places."
And were there any instances then of award leaders deciding, well, there are, I'll try and do something similar at parish level myself in conjunction with what the diocese is doing, or how did you navigate that space?
No, there wasn't, not at all. People were a bit scared about online, safeguarding wise, and the diocese were providing it, and it was, as Jill said, our numbers were kind of halved, so it was good to do it, to get numbers together, and some of them would come on and help us, whether that being for content or just or an alpha programme, they would come on and be leaders as well.
Great. That's it. It's a nice segue into the next question. The question here around how have we permission to do online? What is the guidance? I presume this obviously relates to safeguarding as well. I know Tony and you guys work pretty closely with the National Board on this. Do you want to? Is it a good opportunity to speak to that now, Tony? Or
it is perfect. It just leads in perfectly to this. Yeah, I work very closely with Teresa and Niall in Maynooth on safeguarding. And Yvonne, who is the Yvonne Rooney here in the Diocese of Derry, who's the youth coordinator. Unfortunately, Yvonne is supposed to be here today, but she's we should remember her mammy. Her mammy is very ill at the moment, and so we've just put out our thoughts and prayers to Yvonne and their family. Yvonne works very closely in safeguarding as well. So all our experiences sort of had to come in. We didn't really have any guidance at that time. We had a few challenges. A lot of people were furloughed. We couldn't make contact with people. We had experience of safeguarding ourselves. So we basically all mucked in, and we tried to find resources that would be able to assist us on that. And a lot of it was common sense and being very, very careful. Lizzie and Julz, maybe you could come in this one. Could you give people an idea of the typical guidance you give the young people who were getting involved first? We'll take it from the young people's point of view first.
Julz, do you want to answer? Julz is good at the safeguarding.
From the young people's point of view, we created forms for any online content. So we discovered online forms that were brilliant. I don't know if you've found those yet, but Microsoft Forms and Google Forms are fabulous. They give you instant results. So the young person can fill them in and it gives you all the details you need. From that, we were able to get things like contact numbers for parents, but we were also able to put a code of conduct in that. So we were able to tell them what we were asking from them during, for instance, a Zoom call for Youth Alpha and things, and they were able to agree to be part of that online process. But because we had their parents' details as well, we were able to send up follow-up emails and gain parental consent, because they would give us a phone number or an email, and we were able to say, we need parental consent. Could you just, your young person has asked to be part of our programme, could you just respond to say that you're happy for that to happen, and send out the guidance to them as well. But yeah, online forms were definitely a bit of a winner. My mum works for the local authority. She works alongside social services in Rotherham, in the town I'm from. So when it all kind of happened, my mum had started doing online things with her families with children with disabilities. So I took what she was doing and tried to apply that using what we already had in place in Derry to look, how can we make this as safe as possible, and look at what people were doing, because they still had a lot of paid workers who were looking into, quite intensely looking into things like Zoom and its flaws and whatnot. But yeah, I think that was how we kind of started off with young people. It was getting them to fill in those forms was the way forward.
Yeah, and just to give you an idea, in each diocese, every diocese has different rules and guidance. So what we would say is contact your diocesan office. Every diocese has a safeguarding officer, and talk with your safeguarding officer. Or if you wish, you can make contact with Maynooth themselves. Teresa, Devlin and Maynooth and Niall, they'll be more than happy to talk to you. Every diocese has different approaches. Some do allow Zoom, some don't. This is for young people, should I say. So it just depends across each diocese. And similarly with Instagram and with Facebook, there are different guidance by each diocese. Now, when we started off here in the Diocese of Derry, we all kept in close contact with each other. And towards the end of the sort of the first period, around June, so it started the summer, I gathered all the activities that had been done online, and was able to liaise directly with Teresa and I in Maynooth, and go through all the processes that we did, and they found nothing we had done out of order at all, and now they're beginning to use that as a sort of a best practice. So the program that you all devised here in the Diocese of Derry, it's going to be used as an idea of best practice. But saying that, we are continuously reviewing everything we do. It never stops. You never just say, right, we've created that, that's parked. It evolves all the time. And that just goes to bring up the point that Julz has said there. This is where you make contact with the parents. One of the many good things that have come out of COVID is that the contact with parents is key. And it's also an opportunity, one, to find more leaders, because we're always looking for leaders. And, but two, you're building that relationship, and that relationship of trust with the parent and the young people. And that is a message that we'd like to get out to everyone. You know, your parent is the key. It is the connector. And it can go either way. It could be the child could be the connector to the parent, could be the child that brings the parent to faith, vice versa. So these things are key. So look at how you approach everything you do. And was there anything other learnings out of that, Lizzie, that you had at the time, especially when you were making connections with parents?
Yeah, there was obviously a bit of trial and error as well. I just seen a question there, I think it was from Charlotte. It said, did you do the national training? Yeah, our office did do the training as well, and I find that really helpful. Although they were kind of talking about the stuff we've done, I think it was a great refresher, and I would advise if anyone has got the opportunity to go in that training to please do, because you kind of reaffirm that there could be worst case scenario with online. I've been very fortunate so far to have no issues either on Instagram or Zoom or Facebook or anything like that, but the training itself is fantastic, so please go if you get the opportunity. Some of the problems that we did encounter, some different things like camera and on Zoom, and parents if they would allow their camera or not allow their camera, but most things were fine. Challenges kind of getting the young people to send in the forms and make sure they're registering before we allow them to do anything. So we made sure that, like, if our Zoom meetings and Instagram for whatever we were doing, the password was always protected and not really given out to the last minute, so that they couldn't share it on, as I'm sure you're all aware, and probably some of you have read. So a lot of people are saying that. But once we had their information and their registration, it worked very well.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'd support Lizzie there in that call. If you can do the diocesan online safeguarding training with Teresa and Niall, I'd encourage you to do it. There is, it just refreshes you. It gives you confidence in what you can do and what you can't do online. There's some very, very good tips. tell us a few tell us one or two of the tips, Lizzie, that they gave us with regards, say, Twitter.
Put me on the spot. Twitter. It's kind of, they were talking about sharing images, and they were talking about how we always need to be aware of our, who we're tagging and how we share an image, because this was a bit actually controversial, and this is only what they said. I'm not giving an opinion on this one. They said that if it was a school shared an image, if you were to retweet that, you essentially are putting that on your page, whereas you don't know that the school is putting all the safeguarding protocols. Yes, they should. Of course they should, and most likely 99% are doing that, but you're not aware. So you then have to ask the school, have you had all these safeguarding protocols in place before you then reshare? I understand they made the point then, well, if it's out there already and you're just sharing it on a platform, anyone can share it, and that is a great point as well. But apparently if you put it on your page and somebody that follows you then takes that said image of a child and distorts it for whatever reason, it can then become on your page. They've taken it from you. So you just have to make sure that all safeguarding protocol is in place before you share an image. Also about the uniforms. If a uniform badge and names, first, last name, all that kind of thing, they made reference to on Twitter and social media.
Yeah, and that again goes back to the importance of building up good relationships with leaders in the schools. So when you have, when you know personally those leaders, so try and reach out to those leaders so that you begin to build up on that trust. Safeguarding could be the mechanism to start that conversation. When you start to have those type of conversations, that's where relationships are built. And that's where, you know, parish, school, we all work together. And that's where the fruits of the award comes into play, that partnership. And that's where, you know, safeguarding is a continuous process that we're continuously learning.
Tony, there is sort of a number of questions coming in around further practical examples of how the award can be achieved, obviously with COVID restrictions in place. Yeah. I know we're moving to that phase in the part of our schedule, so I'm not sure if we could move into that space now.
We can indeed.
There are just into obviously what the guys have shared already, but other examples. I know you were going to go around other dioceses as well to share some of that information. So, but anyway, the question, just to frame the question, is like, what other practical ideas are out there in terms of helping young people achieve their award during COVID restrictions?
Okay, I'm going to share a few slides with you here now, and just open this. Here's we're going to go quickly through a few examples of, here are our JP2 award participants in the Diocese of Killaloe, sort of southwest of Ireland, and they have taken on the tasks of originally been the welcoming committee, but now during COVID, they take on the responsibility of assisting on setting up as masses are the preparation of mass before the doors are open. There's examples of young people right across the country who have stepped up to the mark to assist with cleaning, with ushering, and making sure that the environment in the building is safe. One good example of a JP2 award group to follow is on Facebook, and Steelstown Cooleragh, I hope I got the pronunciation right. They're in the Diocese of Kildare and Loughlin, and they are continuously very active all the time. And during the summer, they helped out in very practical ways in preparing the church grounds. So that gives you an example of how they're getting right in to assist in their own parishes. And again, they work with under safeguarding guidelines and social distancing, and help in real practical ways. After this, after today, we'll put up all of these resources here, but there's an excellent project that they're beginning to start in the Diocese of Limerick, and that is especially designed around the restrictions. And this is what they've called a transition year pilgrimage. And they've engineered that or designed it so that it's very much based on what local restrictions are in the school and in the parish. So they're encouraging young people to get out in their own parish. So in Ireland, we're restricted to a 5K radius. And so the pilgrimage is around the 5K's area in the parish. And they're asking the young people to create the pilgrimage themselves. So that could be from, you know, a church to a Marian shrine to a holy well, and lead that through there according to the local restrictions. And both the project itself, both to design it and actually do it, leads to towards you gain points towards your award. In the Diocese of Ferns, Collecta, I think, who's on this call, Collecta has come up with a great solution, I think, and that is to create the project, ask the participants who are involved in the award to create their own projects, to find out themselves what they can do in their own areas, so they become familiar with themselves, work with Collect, and see what sort of projects are viable. So that is sort of a two-pronged approach. You earn your hours towards creating the project and finding and understanding what the restrictions are. In the Diocese, back to Kildare and Leighlin again, this one is really, really good. This is Care Home Pen Pals, and this one has really, really taken off. So care homes have been, in Ireland especially, have been sort of ignored and have been really at the front of COVID. And lots and lots of families are unable to get into care homes. So they devised a great project where you can write in to people in the care homes and tell them the local news, tell them who you are, where you come from, and try and build up that relationship. And that project in itself has really, really taken off. And if Katrina's on this call, we maybe come back and we get Katrina to tell us a little bit more about that as well. And here in the Diocese of Derry, we'll come back to you, Lizzie and Julz. Since March, you have created the scholarship program as a result of trying to get all these activities that you got everybody involved. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the scholarship program? Is that Lizzie or Julz? Who'd like to speak on that one?
I think Julz just nodded, so I'm guessing that's me. The scholarship actually didn't happen in March. The scholarship happened in around May time.
Okay.
What about the fact that the reason why I'm saying that is because we realised at the start of March, and as we went to do a Youth Alpha programme, and kind of as we were continuing to do the Youth Alpha programme, there was a certain group of young people that wanted more and they wanted to continue. So we kind of thought, right, these people had on Paul II awards, and some of them still had some hours to do, and we thought it was a very good opportunity for a group of young people to intentionally disciple and journey along with. So we have 11 young people that have signed up, and they sign up throughout the year. They gain a qualification. They work with a charity throughout the year. We have monthly meetings with them, and more than monthly actually. We try and say monthly, but it usually ends up about twice a month we speak to them on a Zoom call. We would like to be together, but obviously can't with restrictions just now. And we set various tasks, and that's not to achieve anything. They just want to do it and they want to get involved. They're a great group of young people, and we hope to try and continue that next year. especially the online programme. We found that came out of the online programme, they enjoyed what we were doing and they wanted more. So that's how that came out.
Can I call on Katrina there? Katrina, could you unmute yourself? Hello, how is it going? Could you tell us about the Care Home Pen Pal program that you started?
Yeah, well, I won't take the credit for it because one of our Paper Cross awardees this year, I read by accident in her reflection, she's from a very small parish south of Cooleragh, and she was doing her award basically with the help of the sacristan in the church, and she did fantastic parish work. But on her social side, she had set up this initiative that she named Bridging Generations, and she basically herself and her friends who were also doing the award but from different parishes, they got in contact with the Sacred Heart Hospital in Carlow, which is their nearest town, if you like. There's nowhere in their parish, but they went to the nearest town, and they knew someone there, and helped to the manager there set up found various people that would love to be a pen pal to this small group of girls, and then it built on to the rest of the 6 years in that year, and even the ones that weren't doing the John Paul Award, and they're still writing to them now. But on the back of that, basically after me reading her reflection, she spoke about it at our award ceremony, and lots of award leaders have asked about it. So now if there's a nursing home or care home in their parish or local area, they get in contact with them directly. I'm nothing to do with it. I cannot take any credit at all, just the idea from Shauna. But for those that don't have anywhere to get in contact with, they're using Pen Pal Ireland, which they found on Instagram. And so they get in contact with them directly, and then they find someone for them in the kind of proximity like Kildare, Laois, Carlow, the counties in our diocese. So, and they're assigned one person and given their details, and it's all. Now they don't have the details of the young person, only the address, which is permitted by the parents. But it's just a guideline is given to them of things they might like to talk about. But they're about 4 letters in now, I think, at this stage, you know, which is lovely. The girls have been doing it since March, but the current group have been doing it only since August, the end of August. And it's very simple. And now what they've started to do in some parishes is they started putting religious items in with their letter. So they have like a prayer card that they made for them, or a holy medal, or something that was blessed from their parish priest that they were able to get to them, things like that. Or the newsletter goes in now with their letter and that kind of thing, because they can't get to the church to get the newsletter. They don't know how to download it, so they're posting it to them, you know. So they came up with that all on their own, you know. And it's just it's depending on each area they're coming from, what kind of way they do it. But the one thing they all have in common is they're just sharing the basics in handwritten, not typed form. And that's important. They don't want it to be typed, which is lovely.
Lovely. Katrina, thanks very much. I see a question come in there on the qualification. Lizzie, could you tell us a little bit on the qualification that the young people who are participating in the scholarship will achieve at the end of it?
The scholarship is YouthLink NI are delivering that qualification, so they'll work with us and the young people throughout the year. It's a level 1 qualification. It's not in, I think it's not in youth ministry, I think it's just youth work. We're going to be doing a level 1, and so the scholarship's kind of built in different. We'll do a bit of the content. Mary's Meals is a charity that young people chose. They will deliver some of the content, and YouthLink NI deliver the rest of the content with participation and a qualification. I can't actually tell you loads on it, but they deliver.
Yes.
That's the organisation that they'll do.
Okay. Frank, do we want to go to the breakout rooms?
Yeah, I was just going to, we have to, we're sort of on schedule, more or less, give or take. So yeah, we're going to go into breakout rooms now for 15 minutes. Just the first thing you might do when you go in is nominate a spokesperson, if you can do that quickly, and that if the spokesperson could take note of what group number your breakout group, whether it's 1, 2, whatever. Okay, so that would be important, because we will look for the feedback afterwards, and we'll call the group number. So it'd be important that you would know what group number you're feeding back from. Okay, so nominate someone to give feedback, and secondly, note the group breakout room that you're in. The questions are being shared there, and James will broadcast them into each group, so you'll see them again. But the questions here are: what has struck you from this morning's discussion? What are you going to try out? And what perhaps are the barriers, and how can we help each other overcome those barriers? So there are the three questions. Like I said, we've got 15 minutes for this, and also for the feedback. I will repeat this when we come back into plenary again, but just will be a large number of groups, so we'll just ask you to share from the groups anything that hasn't been shared already, so that we can move through quickly. Okay, Tony, if you want to, I don't know if you want to capture some of this stuff. Obviously, we'll have the recording in any case, but just as people feedback, perhaps there's some things that you might want to capture as people share. So there are 8 breakout rooms. Is that right, James?
Yeah.
So we will go to the first breakout room, number 1, and again, as subsequent rooms share, please don't repeat if it's been shared already. I'm conscious of time, so could we have group number 1 feedback, please?
Yeah, I think that's us here, group number 1. We acknowledged it was very difficult last year with the lockdown to find ways of linking in with the parish. The traditional things, reading at Mass, Eucharistic ministers, welcoming, was all very difficult. And so we were looking for alternative ways of establishing the connections going forward. With schools having returned, we've some, I suppose, contact with the young people on a regular basis, but it is difficult. Some of the suggestions we came up with is things like organizing sacred spaces, organizing prayer cards for display within the church. But again, it's how we actually make the connection there. Love the idea of the pen pals and the old age people's home. Everyone liked that sort of notion. It is difficult, and we have to be creative going forward, because social media has many benefits, but also many disadvantages. And I suppose it's monitoring how we interact with the young people via it. So a lot of concerns and a lot of questions about how we go forward. The social side in particular, we're uncertain how we're going to do that. Mentoring, as we've done in the past, can't happen in schools this year. Senior students can't mentor juniors because we're keeping them all separate. So a lot of questions and a lot of help would be requested.
Thank you, Sean. Group.
I think, Frank, did you say group number 2 there?
Yes.
Okay, that was me. Sorry, my Wi-Fi is going to be a bit strange. So yeah, with the regards to us, we were just talking about how great the Derry Diocese is with all their resources, so all the Instagrams and stuff. They look brilliant. For us, it's more. We talk a lot about how in different dioceses, what each diocese is allowing the participants to do. So, like, we in the Down and Connor Diocese, we are in talks with an insurer right now to see and to try and get a list of what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. But then it was raised that some people are still, participants could be allowed to clean the churches and be in the bubbles to do that. But with some of the dioceses, like our diocese right now, cleaning may not be allowed with regards to insurance. But one thing that we would like to see YMI maybe to do is create a list of all the activities that all the dioceses are kind of doing, even if it's us just emailing you, and then to create a list so people can get ideas, and then we can bounce it off our diocese to see if we're allowed to do it. So that's one thing that might help other people, because, like, again, kind of the pen pal thing was brilliant. We hadn't heard of that before, so just kind of more of that, so we can go back and forward. And just like getting online with Zoom and stuff, you kind of have to wait until your safeguarding is, like, you've had your safeguarding chat and then to try and get that, so people are just at different levels.
Thanks very much, Tony. Just in relation to obviously gathering all the various activities that potentially are happening around the country, I know you're working actively on that at the minute. So just to say at this point, you know, if you do have practical ideas that are working in your diocese and maybe ideas as well, can you just please, because obviously this is John Paul II Award related, to send them to Tony, because Tony will collate that and send them out. Is that okay? Thanks. So group number 3.
That's us here, Tony. We found it a bit overwhelming technically, and we thought we were half decent online, but obviously not. But it's very impressive to hear everything going on in Derry, and lots of great ideas there. The takeover thing was really impressive, but we're very afraid to use something like that. anyone in our group was just saying that our young people will be very exposed doing something like that, and it's just the nature of the young person that's doing it. But obviously you trust the young person that's taken over yours, and it's worked, thank God. It'd be my worst nightmare if I was a young person. I still count myself as a young person, but I just think it's a very different church in our diocese anyway. I always say that I always find the kids more confident up north with their faith and speaking about it. Whereas if it was a great idea with the pilgrimage, TY pilgrimage, whereas if they were to do the takeover during that pilgrimage and expose an event and promote that would be fine, because they could mask their faith a bit in this event. So that could work really well. Whereas I don't think we could just do a takeover out of nowhere. You know, that wouldn't really work for us, but it's a brilliant idea. Safeguarding, very overwhelming but necessary, but that's why we're very cautious about what we do yet. But focusing on small groups was said in our group, and that it was important to note that we still have our papal crosses. You know, we have our gold recipients from last year, and to bring them forward because they're already active, we have that connection, and to use them to help us recruit the new group. Our biggest concern is that we're afraid we're going to lose interest from potential JP2s or potential young people that are interested now, but might lose interest because they think, you know, that we've forgotten about them because of COVID, but we're just trying to devise the best process for recruiting them. We'd love an online application form system. We spoke about using Google Forms as just an expression of interest first, and then form a group. And then if we establish them as a JP2 group, then we either figure out how to do the physical form of application process again, or maybe there'll be an online process by the time they're established a bit. Again, everyone seemed to like the pen pal idea as well, which is great. But when the churches were open in July and August, as mentioned, you know, sanitising and ushering was great to have them in their little pods and working very safely. Can't wait, counting down the days to have them back in again to do that. That's a brilliant way to have them. But more than that, to just have them at Mass, to just have them there, you know, the feedback from parish priests is that they would love, priests would love to sign an application form for a young person that's going to eventually produce their record card, who came for 20 masses for their gold award. And because we know them and they're active at Mass, just sitting there and reflecting on it afterwards with the booklet, which is a fantastic book that you have, that, you know, from there then they get involved in the jobs, as they say in Cooleragh, the youth ministry, the actual roles in the church. But if they were there sitting at Mass and reflecting, and you're not as exposed anymore because you have this individual spot 2 meters away from everyone else. It's not weird to attend Mass on your own because everyone looks like they're on their own. So it's a good time to promote that too.
Thanks, Katrina. Thanks, Katrina. I'm just conscious of the time. You probably have loads more there, but again, just to mention for group leaders, if you have taken notes, please send them all on to Tony, if that's okay, so we can collate those. Is that okay? Group number 4, anything new to add?
I think we were group number 4. I'm not sure though.
We were.
I lost all the notes when we moved out the small group, but I'm pretty sure you've said pretty much everything. The only thing in terms of barriers we said was, obviously all the parishes are doing different things. So from a school point of view, it's quite tricky when you've got, say, some girls in your school, they're allowed to go into the chapel and clean, but other young people are going in their chapel saying, no, you can't do that. So coming up with a kind of overall thing of, for those that aren't able to do something, that there's a backup plan for them, not going over the top of the parishes. That's where we want them first and foremost, but for the parishes that aren't, maybe a diocesan or an award, I know that they've got a great plan. Colette was talking about sending out a reflection for them that they kind of do in space of that. I think I've said that right. If I haven't, shout at me, Colette.
Thank you, Julz. Group number 5.
Thanks, Frank. That was us. So I won't repeat again. We were kind of hoping for more practical examples of stuff that people are doing. So if Tony gets that list together, that'll be great. People have had ideas, I'm sure, that we won't hear about, so it'd be good to hear them. And the other thing, just that Francis was saying in Dromore, which I thought was lovely, was that you know, to talk to young people about what they actually have, you know, that actually they probably have been engaged in things like setting up technology for grandparents so that they can watch Mass, you know, helping again people at home on the farm, minding kids, so mom can go to work because she's a nurse and she's on the front line. So like there's actually probably stuff that they have been doing already. So I think that's worth exploring as well with you know, the ones who've already, like since March, what have you been doing, and look at that. But again, it's to find out from Tony what actually you know, will fulfill ours. That's, I suppose, what people have a concern about. So thanks.
Thanks, Aoife. Group number 60, Del.
Hi. So apologies, my camera doesn't work, and I'll just keep this short and sweet. No one else in the group would talk, so I had to take the job. What struck us from the discussion was there's wonderful ideas there, the importance of the child protection, and it just makes you really think outside of the box, and how so much has happened since March, and there are ways, even though there's barriers there is ways to get around them. And we were, I'm sorry, I have a little dog here beside me that won't, is trying to make addition to the conversation. Just the empowerment that Derry gave their young people, we found that was brilliant. And even just opening up the discussion with the young people to see what platform that they use, that was good. What we would going to try out, well, of course, like, yeah, we mentioned the pen pals, that was fantastic, and we just said just to think on a smaller scale, like, and to keep it within your bubble, that you could do your grandmother's hair, you know, the children use their talents, the young people use their talents to stay within their bubble and just work with their families because they can be closer with them. And then the barriers, we said that there is amazing support there, and network, and just to link into that, and to have an agenda and to keep it structured, and yeah, to use the resources that are there and keep communication.
Thanks, Edel. Okay, group number 7. Anything new to add?
I think that was us. I don't think we've anything new to add. I was just, my point is we're here to help, and just to pick up on one or two things there, we will be publishing the resources that we've gathered that here today, and others. We've others that we didn't touch on. The one thing that we would say is that ask the young people, ask them what they have been doing. You need a bit of imagination, and the award, its objective is to reward people for their faith and for what they do out of the ordinary. So if they think, oh, I've got to get involved in this thing, that's not the right way to do it. Ask them what are they doing, and Francis there, I think, touched on it. You know, if you're at home making silage, and that is something you've never done before, and because it's during lockdown, I know that's not a good example, but there are things out there where you perhaps are helping at home that you could never have done before. Those things need to be known about. Things need to be considered. If you're calling in on a neighbor, if you're sending getting messages for neighbors, those are the things you need to ask, and those are the things of what you're acknowledging the young people is doing, and is the award suited to that? You need to make that consideration yourselves, but those are very important things that go towards acknowledging young people and their faith.
Thanks, Tony. I know, Tony, you can do a wrap up in a minute or so. Just group number 8. Anything new to add before we?
Nothing new.
Great. Okay. Not great, but obviously very good. But you know what I mean. I'm just conscious of time. It's okay. There's so much we could talk about. Tony, back over to you just to cover the next webinar and closing prayer.
Okay. Just one, before we go to that, I get me zoom back here. Excuse me.
We had one question, Tony, earlier about obviously running the John Paul II Award ceremonies, how that might look. Do you want to briefly touch on that and then maybe wrap?
Yeah, the ceremonies, we basically, in most cases, they're not possible. What we would encourage you to do is, if you can do ceremonies in small groups in your parish, that is an approach to strongly consider. And if they're confined to schools, I would have to ask you that you need to include the parish. So you need to look at the ways you're going to do your award ceremonies. Your parish is key, and look at doing many of them, maybe in smaller groups. That's the way to do it. Katrina in Kildare and Loughlin, you could contact her through the network. They did an online ceremony, which was excellent. So that there's that to consider as well. But we'll post that as well.
Great.
Just to wrap up, next week we have and I'll bring it up here. There we go. Are you able to see that, Frank? Yeah.
Currently, there's a spotlight view on you, so we need James. Are you able to you share your screen? Maybe James needs to disable the spotlight view.
Hold on, I got it again. Okay, let's go again.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay. You got that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. This day next week at 12 o'clock, note the 12 o'clock time, we're going to show how to use Instagram in a practical way in youth ministry. The very basics of Instagram, how to use the camera, how to share, things like that. So that's a really good thing to get involved in. Instagram was where young people are at. That's where you need to be at. So
just on that point, it's important that you register for that if you haven't done so already through the links that were sent out via CYMI and perhaps the John Paul II Award Network as well. But it's the same registration links. So please register. Don't assume that because you're on this call today that you'll be automatically on next week's call unless you've registered for it. So those of you who are interested, please sign up, and Marie will be sending that link to everybody on Friday. So do register before Friday.
And we'll just conclude with a closing reflection from Pope St. John Paul II. Remember that you are never alone. Christ is with you on your journey every day of your lives. He has called you and chosen you to live the freedom. He has called you and chosen you to live in the freedom of the children of God. Turn to him in prayer and in love. Ask him to grant you the courage and strength to live this freedom always. Walk with him who is the way, the truth, and the life. Thank you very much, everybody. I'll pass you over to Frank just to conclude, but as I say again, we will be publishing these resources up on the Pope John Paul II Award website, and we will be in touch with you all as well.
Thank you, Tony. Just remains for me to thank the CYMI team for all their work in the background, and the Pope John Paul II Award team as well. It's just been a wonderful collaboration, and we'll have many more, please God. But also for your own participation today. It's so wonderful to see perhaps 60 people from around the country all online together in youth ministry space, working together, sharing ideas. Obviously, there's so much more we could share, and we'll do our best to get that information out to everybody. Please, I'm just presuming this, but if you have a direct question for the Derry team, please contact them directly, perhaps, or through Tony. I'm sure they would be very glad to help you in relation to that. Obviously, the Instagram webinar next week will be very helpful to everybody. I want to thank, in particular, James for all the technical piece in the background. James, thanks so much, and for all your work on that. So, listen, have a great week, everybody, and hopefully see you all here next week. All right, God bless you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.